I'm Timothy Karr. I'm the campaign director for Free Press. Free Press is a media reform organization that works on public policy around internet issues, press issues, media issues, and a lot of the things that we work on have a direct impact on the Netroots, the people who use the internet every day in every way, but in particular people are using the internet to organize people around causes or to get them more engaged in the political process. So one of the issues that we really focus on right now is an issue of net neutrality, which is the way to preserve the open architecture of the internet so that it remains free of the sort of gatekeepers that control more traditional media. As the internet has been such a tremendous engine for free speech and economic growth and diversity that we've got to preserve it. And right now we're facing one of the most important fights over the future of the internet around this issue of net neutrality. And we have to determine whether or not we want to protect the open architecture and make sure that we all have access to everything that's online, or will we let powerful companies like AT&T and Verizon and Comcast, who now control access, also control what kind of information that we can see?
Why do those large companies want to control access? Why would they do that?
Well, what's happening right now, and what's happened really over the last 10 years, is that people have become more empowered via their internet connection. It used to be you would get on the internet to surf the web or share email, but nowadays people are doing almost everything media via the internet. They're making videos and sharing them. They're putting together their own programs. They've got blogs. They're listening to radio. They're reading the newspaper. And traditional media doesn't like that. They don't like this new people-powered evolution of media. And so what they're trying to do through a very aggressive campaign of lobbyists in Washington is to close the internet back down, to try to return it to something that is limited and something that they can control so that their traditional media properties, I mean, you'll notice that a lot of the companies like Comcast and AT&T and Verizon don't only provide you with an internet connection, but they also provide you with a connection for cable television. They also are telephone services. And they want to protect those traditional legacy media properties. So what they are trying to do through a very aggressive campaign of lobbyists is create a new legal structure that radically undermines the open architecture of the internet in a way that lets them pick and choose what sorts of media experience you can have via your online connection.
Now, isn't Comcast trying to purchase NBC? I mean, isn't that...
That's a part of, you know, there was a whole wave of mergers that we saw in the 1980s and 1990s, and Time Warner, AOL, the industry, the traditional media industry consolidated. Now in the 21st century, we're seeing sort of a new face of media consolidation. The merger between Comcast and NBC Universal, where you have a very powerful internet property. Comcast is the largest cable internet provider in the country, trying to control not just the connection to the internet, but the sort of information that flows over the internet. They're buying NBC Universal, which is not just NBC, but it's all the affiliated stations. NBC also owns a series of movie studios, websites, cable channels. And so you're seeing the emergence of this potentially new media colossi that is combining content with access. And in doing so, they have a great incentive to prioritize certain content over the internet. They would want you to watch a Comcast video stream as opposed to YouTube, for example, or they would favor some of the websites that they own over other websites. So the temptation for Comcast as an internet provider to try to discriminate or block your access to other media properties is very great. So what we're fighting right now is not only to stop that merger or to put very, very severe conditions on it that prevent them from doing this, but also to make sure that we have a net neutrality rule in place that will prevent gatekeepers like Comcast and other companies from mucking with our internet connection.
I mean, this issue is so important that I think even Al Franken brought it up during the last two Supreme Court hearings on Supreme Court nominees.
Al Franken has been a very strong supporter of net neutrality, and in some of the Supreme Court, in the nomination process, he's posed questions about it. It has an impact on free speech. The internet has made the First Amendment a living document for people in the 21st century. The First Amendment traditionally protected traditional press, and now that we're in this internet area, we need to figure out what free speech means for this whole emergence of people who are using the internet to become their own media makers. And net neutrality, in many ways, we've called net neutrality the First Amendment of the internet because it does protect that fundamental right to speak freely via the internet. So Al Franken has been a very strong supporter of net neutrality. We need more members in Congress to be supporters of net neutrality. It's something that we do via a coalition called SaveTheInternet.com, but we're also working at the FCC right now the Federal Communications Commission has a process underway by which they're determining whether or not to make a net neutrality rule enforceable. Right now, we're in this sort of legal limbo where we don't actually have true net neutrality protections. So what we're doing at Free Press and SaveTheInternet.com, and we're working with this progressive community at Netroots Nation, is to form a very powerful online movement of internet users who demand this fundamental right.
We're asking everybody here at Netroots today, what's next?
Well, what's next for us is this effort to get the FCC to instill net neutrality protections. There is a process underway at the FCC. We have a chairman there who was appointed by President Obama. Obama is a big net neutrality supporter. The chairman, Janikowski, has put forth this process to create a lasting net neutrality rule. And so we need, in the process of making rules, the FCC opens up a docket to public comments. So we are organizing across all sectors to make sure that people who use the internet, who want to protect this fundamental freedom, tell the FCC and let them know about it. As you might expect, the lobbyists who represent AT&T and Verizon and Comcast have been knocking down doors at the FCC, and in order for us to get this FCC to act on our behalf, we need to make sure that they hear from the public. If we don't get involved right now, if we don't get involved in this fight over the openness of the internet, we could very well lose it, and it could be just an experiment that was a great sort of blossoming of free speech that will slowly be closed by a very effective political and corporate special interest lobby that is trying to return or trying to change the internet in such a radical and fundamental way. So we need to really get involved, and that's what we'll be fighting for over the next year or so.
Anything else you want to add or say to what we've talked about?
No, I mean, Free Press has a whole range of other stuff. We're also working on preserving public media, trying to build a new face for public media to make sure that the sort of funding that we have in place not only goes to traditional media like PBS and NPR, but looks at this whole explosion of internet media and tries to support new media through public media grants that are provided by the government.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time today.
Take care.